I remember when I first married into my wife's family, my father-in-law and I had an interesting relationship. A lot of son-in-laws and father-in-laws have interesting relationships. You take their daughter, and they're not sure they can ever forgive you for that for a long time. And that was kind of how we started out. He never called me by my name. He would introduce me to people in the family and say, yes, the college boy. His college boy or whatever. He'd seen me play Frisbee. I could do a lot of tricks and stuff with Frisbees back in the days. And he majored in Frisbee. That's how he'd introduce me. And so 2 or 3 kids later, 2 or 3 grandchildren later, he finally started calling me by my name. And we started off a little, distant, but we grew close. And, I lost my father when I was 8 years old, and he really became a father figure to me, my father-in-law. And I didn't know what to call him. He never told me what to call him. And finally, when my son Stephen started calling him Pawpaw, that's what I called him Pawpaw. And I knew that I had arrived when one day he says, I see you getting up early, reading the Bible and praying. Can I show you something? I said, yeah. He said, come with me. He took me outside, and he had these pine trees that he had planted at kind of as a windbreak on the side of his property. He had a pretty good-sized property. And he had this one area where it was really thick with pine trees. And we went into the center of this area, and he had taken one of those kind of porch swings that you see, one of them 2-seaters, and he had put it in there in the middle of those pine trees, that swing. And you were surrounded all the way around with pine. And you could see blue sky if you look straight up. And he sat down, he goes, have a seat. And I sat down, he goes, this is where I pray. This can be yours whenever you visit, if you want to get up early. He goes, you can have my sanctuary. I knew I'd arrived at that point, that he had brought me to the place where he met with the Father. Do you have a place like that? It doesn't have to be a closet. It doesn't have to be an inner room. It could be a room where you're all to yourself, where you can shut away the world. You can have a quiet place with the Lord. Do you have a quiet time habit with the Lord? It's not for others. It's just for you and Jesus.